The story begins in a deserted market, where we see a family silently and quietly gathering essential supplies. They were so terrified that they couldn't even speak to each other, communicating only through gestures. Something was forcing them to remain completely silent. The leader of this family is Lee, and his wife's name is Evelyn. They have their eldest daughter, Regan, who has been deaf since childhood, and their two sons, Marcus and Bo. Bo is the younger one and doesn't understand much. He spots a toy rocket on a high shelf. Just as he is about to pick it up, the rocket slips from his hands. Everyone freezes in fear, but at the last moment, Regan quickly catches the toy rocket, saving them all. Lee signals to everyone that evening is approaching, and they must return home quickly to avoid danger. However, their 4-year-old son picks up the toy rocket again. Everyone is horrified because it's a battery-operated toy that could make noise if switched on. Lee takes the rocket from his son, removes the battery, and places it on a table. As they prepare to leave, the boy keeps insisting on taking the rocket. So Regan secretly hands the batteryless rocket to him, and they all exit the store. Unbeknownst to them, the boy also picks up the batteries. The family of 4 then sets off home along a path. We see that the once bustling city, filled with the noise of cars and crowds, is now completely deserted and engulfed in silence. Not a single human or even a bird's chirp can be heard. A terrifying quiet hangs everywhere. Only a few people remain alive in the world, including these 5. They have laid sand along the path to their house and walk on it barefoot to muffle their footsteps. The innocent Bo, happy with his rocket, walks behind Regan. Suddenly, he inserts the batteries and switches the rocket on, causing it to play music. Regan, being deaf, doesn't notice, but Lee and Evelyn hear it and panic. Instantly, a terrifying monster moving at bullet speed emerges from the dense woods and charges towards Bo. Lee races to turn off the toy, but it's too late. The monster takes Bo away. The scene shifts to 1 year later. Lee and his family have learned to survive in this new reality. Lee has set up a research room in his house where he has gathered extensive information about the monsters. He discovered that these terrifying creatures can detect the faintest sound from miles away. The one advantage is that the monsters are completely blind, but their hearing is so acute they can sense the slightest vibration or quietest noise in the air. If a person breathes too loudly, the monsters will sprint towards them at lightning speed and kill them within seconds. Furthermore, their skin is tougher than iron, protecting them from bullets and any other weapons. It's revealed that a year ago, these monsters arrived on Earth via a meteoroid from space. They were so fast that they spread across the entire planet in no time, wiping out almost all of humanity. The only way to survive was to remain absolutely silent, a secret Lee and his family had learned, allowing them to secure their safety. Lee installed CCTV cameras around the house to detect the monster's approach. He also marked specific spots on stairs and pathways to avoid creaking sounds and built an underground bunker for research. He ascertained there were 3 monsters in the area and was now trying to find their weakness. Simultaneously, Lee was sending help signals via radio, but hadn't made contact with anyone yet. We learn that Evelyn is pregnant and will soon give birth. In preparation, they have built a soundproof box for the baby, complete with an oxygen mask to contain its cries and prevent the monster from hearing them. Being ready was crucial for survival in these difficult circumstances. Lee's eldest daughter, Regan, being deaf, posed a significant risk. Lee tried to compensate for her disability by building her a cochlear hearing amplifier. However, Regan was unhappy with it, believing it wouldn't work like his previous attempts. She initially throws it down, but upon testing it, finds it works. Hearing the outside world for the first time, she cries with joy but is also reminded of her younger brother's death. Regan still blames herself for Bo's death, believing it was her fault for giving him the toy rocket. Wanting to prove herself, Regan heads towards her father's underground bunker, but Lee stops her, forbidding her from entering. Since the incident a year ago, he no longer trusts her, fearing that her accidental contact with a microphone, radio, or any other sound-emitting device in the bunker could put their lives in danger. The next day, Lee goes fishing at the river with his son, Marcus. Regan wants to join them, but Lee refuses, telling her to stay home and look after her mother, who is alone. This hurts Regan deeply, and she becomes upset, feeling her father doesn't love her. She packs her bag and leaves the house, heading straight to the place where her brother was killed. She lies down by his grave and cries herself to sleep. Meanwhile, Evelyn is home alone. Later, while carrying a sack of laundry from the basement, a nail on the stairs snags the sack and becomes upright, positioned directly on a footstep mark. Evelyn doesn't see it. Elsewhere, Lee and Marcus are fishing. Lee takes Marcus to a waterfall, explaining that they can talk there because the sound of the water will hide their voices from the monster. As they talk, Marcus asks if Lee blames Regan for Bo's death. Lee replies that no one was at fault for what happened to Bo, but Marcus reveals that Regan still blames herself and suggests Lee talk to her about it. Back at home, Evelyn is reminiscing about her deceased son when she suddenly goes into labor. Hurrying downstairs to the basement, she steps on the nail, impaling her foot. She writhes in agony but doesn't make a sound. However, the photo frame she was holding falls and shatters loudly. Struggling, she pulls her foot free from the nail, her face red with pain, but maintains absolute silence. She limps down, turns on a light switch, causing a red light to flash outside, and then tries to go back upstairs. To her horror, she sees that a monster has reached their house, having heard the breaking picture frame. Trembling with fear, Evelyn hides behind a wall. Lee and Marcus, returning home, see the red lights flashing and realize Evelyn is in danger. Lee immediately runs towards the house. Hiding in the basement, Evelyn finds a timer. Thinking quickly, she sets it for a few seconds and places it in one corner, then hides in another. The monster, sensing movement, moves towards her hiding spot, getting dangerously close. Evelyn, despite her labor pains and fear, remains perfectly still. The timer alarm goes off, distracting the monster, which races towards the sound. Seizing the opportunity, Evelyn escapes the basement, but as she is about to exit the main door, she sees another monster prowling outside and hides again. Lee, watching from a distance, understands that confronting the monster head-on with a gun is impossible due to its tough hide. He enacts a pre-made plan, handing Marcus a torch and instructing him to quickly launch flare rockets they had set up earlier. Marcus races off to do so. Meanwhile, Evelyn, in immense pain, has retreated to an upstairs bathtub. She can't hold the baby in much longer. As the monster, drawn by her muffled cries, approaches the bathroom, Marcus launches the flares. The loud noises and lights in the sky distract the monster, which races off towards the sound. At that same moment, Evelyn lets out a scream, masked by the rocket noise. Regan, seeing the flares from a distance, heads home. Lee enters the house with a gun, following bloody footprints up to the bathroom. He finds the bathtub filled with blood and fears the worst, sinking to his knees in despair. Suddenly, a hand appears on the shower glass. It's Evelyn. She has miraculously given birth to a baby boy in the tub. Overjoyed, Lee quickly takes Evelyn and the baby to the underground bunker where the soundproof box is located. However, the baby starts crying before they can enter. Hearing this, the monster charges towards them. They rush inside, block the door with a mattress, place an oxygen mask on the baby, and seal him in the soundproof box, silencing his cries. Lee tells Evelyn he has discovered the creature's weakness and is close to making a weapon against them. Meanwhile, Regan is returning home. She sees a light glowing in the fields and approaches it, unaware a monster is stalking her from behind, tracking her footsteps. Just as the monster is about to attack, a high-pitched frequency emits from Regan's hearing aid, causing the creature immense pain, as if needles are stabbing its ears. It flees. The sound also pains Regan, but it stops once the monster is gone. Puzzled, she continues to the light source, finding a torch. As she picks it up, Someone grabs her hand. It's Marcus, who had been hiding there, terrified. He tells her he saw the monster following her, but it ran away when it got close. Back in the bunker, Evelyn worries about her other children and urges Lee to find them. Lee leaves Evelyn and the newborn in the bunker and goes searching. He doesn't notice that a broken water pipe is flooding the bunker. Meanwhile, Marcus and Regan are hiding on top of a grain silo, having lit a fire to signal their father. Lee searches for them frantically. Evelyn wakes up in the flooded basement and sees the baby's box is open. But the baby is silent. She fears the monster has taken him. She spots the monster in the water and slowly moves towards the box, relieved to find the baby safe and quiet. She holds him, standing silently in a corner as the monster prowls nearby. At the silo, Regan and Marcus grow tired of waiting. Regan decides to leave for home alone. As Marcus tries to stop her, he falls through the silo door, letting out a loud cry as he falls. The monster in the house hears this and races towards the silo, leaving Evelyn. Marcus sinks into the grain like quicksand. Regan breaks the door open, jumps in after him and pulls him to safety onto the door. However, the monster, drawn by the noise, arrives and jumps into the silo. As it moves to attack them, Regan's hearing aid emits the high-pitched frequency again, painfully driving the monster away. Lee arrives, relieved to find his children safe. Evelyn watches this on the CCTV. Lee realizes a monster is still nearby and sends the children towards a car while he grabs an axe. The monster ambushes Lee from above, throwing him aside. Seeing their father hurt, Marcus calls out, revealing their position to the monster. As it advances towards the children, Regan's hearing aid emits the frequency again, but she turns it off due to the pain it causes her. This proves to be a mistake, as the frequency was the monster's weakness. The monster now attacks the car, trying to reach Marcus. Lee regains consciousness and sees his children in peril. He realizes he can't fight the monster physically and sees only one way out. He signals to Regan that he loves her deeply, never blamed her for Beau's death, and will always protect her. He then lets out a loud shout, sacrificing himself to draw the monster away. The monster charges and kills Lee. Witnessing her father's death, Regan is heartbroken, finally realizing how much he loved her. The monster leaves after killing Lee. Evelyn watches this horror unfold on the CCTV. Regan starts the car and returns home with Marcus. Evelyn embraces her children, overjoyed they are safe. Suddenly, the monster approaches the house again. They rush inside, where Marcus and Regan see their new baby brother. Regan notices how hard her father had worked on her cochlear implant and misses him terribly. The monster breaks into the house. Evelyn stands ready with a shotgun, but knows it's useless against its hide. Just as death seems inevitable, Regan feels pain in her ears and sees the monster writhing in agony simultaneously. Regan makes the connection. The high-pitched frequency from her hearing aid is the monster's weakness. Before the monster can strike, she quickly increases the power of her cochlear implant. The intensified high-frequency sound causes the monster immense pain, as if needles are piercing its entire body. Evelyn understands what's happening. To amplify the effect and spare Regan further pain, Regan cleverly connects her hearing aid to a microphone, boosting the sound waves. The monster's head armor begins to split open under the sonic assault. As its vulnerable head is exposed, Evelyn fires her shotgun directly into its mouth, causing its skull to explode, killing it. However, the danger isn't over. The gunshot attracts the two remaining monsters in the area. But now, Evelyn and Regan know their weakness. Regan turns the microphone volume to maximum, and Evelyn prepares her weapon, ready to face the oncoming creatures. The story ends here,